Being that it's 6:59, we'll go ahead and call this meeting to order with a reminder to please silence electronic devices. Also a reminder that the meeting is being both audio, video and audio recorded. School board's website. Ms. Deloria, can we get a roll call, please?
Yes, Chairman. Mr. Paul Alexander.
Here.
Dr. Shantae Jones.
Here.
Ms. Stacy Cyberling.
Here.
Ms. Ellen Slobodnik.
Here.
Mr. Michael Cummings.
Here.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Mr. Cummings, would you care to lead us in a moment of silence and the Pledge of Allegiance?
Absolutely. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, sir. Do we have any additions or corrections to the agenda?
No, Chairman.
All right, can I get a motion and a second for approval of the agenda?
Motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
Motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
All right. Consent agenda, assuming everyone's had a chance to review, can I get a motion and a second for approval of consent agenda?
Motion to approve consent agenda.
Second.
Motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, moving on to school board committee reports. Ms. Slobodnik for Finance Committee.
Good evening, fellow members of the board. We had the pleasure of meeting today for the Finance Committee, and we had a preview look at the CIP for school year 2026 up to school year 2030, and that will be something that will look more in depth as a group in the January work session.
All right, thank you, ma'am. All right, moving on to superintendent spotlight and announcements.
Chairman, I'd like to have Dr. Grosser come forward to share some celebrations.
All right, good evening, Chair Alexander and members of the board. We start off the spotlight tonight, shining a light on our Bring Your Legislator to School Day, which is held every November. Conveniently, if you haven't noticed, the week of an election. Seems like it always falls on that week. So this year we held it on Thursday, November 7th, and we chose to bring our legislators to our career day, our aviation career day at the Manassas Airport. So I'm going to go through and kind of show you some pictures from that day. The Career Fair is an interactive and informative day for students to discover a variety of careers in the aviation industry. This opportunity will further inspire students as they continue to update their career goals and plans. It was open to 8th to 12th grade students, and the event is typically coordinated through the CTE department. So Lisa Wolf and Fatin Hamad led our students out there that day. It's an annual event where our students can go, and they visit all these booths. It kind of looks like a little job fair, and the students go and they learn more about these careers. Because I may like airplanes and I may like flying, but I don't really know what jobs are available in that field. So some of the areas they explored were weather, drones, detailing, design, security, maintenance, and aircraft vehicles and transportation. Those were some of the areas they explored. So if you see here, just some pictures for you guys to look at. There was an indoor area where they went around and met with some of these different companies inside. And then they could move outside, and there were actually some different aircraft out there, some helicopters, rescue helicopters. And these are our students enjoying the day. And we want to thank the legislators that were able to join us that day, Mr. Alexander, Ms. Cyberling. I know you guys were there and got to see our students with some real world education outside of the classroom. We always like to celebrate when we have opportunities to do that. Okay, let's see. Next up tonight, the spotlight's turning back on you guys. It is also, again, November, so it is time for the VSBA Academy Awards. I'd like to present some of our board members with the VSBA Academy Awards. Throughout the VSBA Academy, the VSBA offers individualized professional development activities designed for Virginia school boards. Board members receive the awards based on their activities from the last 2 years. So there are a few different awards you can have here. We have a certificate of recognition, no pin, that's for 15 credits per year. We have an award of achievement with a bronze pin for 24 credits per year, and then the award of excellence, which is a silver pin with 48 credits in 2 years. So first up we have Alexander.
Yeah.
Certificate of recognition.
Yay.
Okay, then we have Shantae, and you have, hold on, wait for it, it's in the pocket.
Oh, she got something shiny.
You have the silver pin for 48 hours and 2 years.
Awesome.
Stacy Cyberling, you also have the silver pin. That is the Award of Excellence, 48 hours and 2 years.
Thank you.
Okay, Ellen, you have the Award of Recognition. And Mr. Cummings, you have the bronze pin
Oh, sweet.
for
Thank you.
24 hours.
Sweet.
So congratulations to you
man.
guys. I know you don't
I've
always
only
like it
been
when we
off
turn
for
the
a year.
spotlight around on you, but we do want to take a moment to say how much we appreciate the work that you do for our community and our schools and our students.
Thank you.
And that concludes our spotlight.
All right. So that was announcements as well. Okay, cool. All right. Ms. Lori, do we have anyone signed up for public comment?
No, Chairman.
All right, so moving on to new business, student services, cell phone-free education.
So Chair, I'm going to ask Dr. Marbury to come on up to the podium, and she's going to share the first draft reading for the policy for cell phone and portable electronic devices. As you know, the board held a work session in October, on October 7th, where we discussed, the board members discussed the current model policies that have been provided to school divisions and the requirements around adoption of the model policy or something as strict as the model policy by January 1 for all school divisions. This was the executive order, the governor's executive order. We had some good discussion that evening regarding thoughts about what our policy would look like here in Manassas Park. And from that meeting, as well as input from you as individuals, Dr. Marbury and staff has put together the draft policy for the cell phone portable electronic device. Tonight is first reading and discussion for the board. So Chairman, I'm going to turn this over to the board as policy is board matter. And Dr. Marbury is available if there are any questions. She does have the policy, as you've seen it, the draft policy up here. We will bring this back in the December meeting for second reading and approval.
Gotcha. All right, so we've already seen the presentation. That was an executive summary. So really the point of this evening is just for us to have a discussion. So I was just going to call on each board member if they have any comments they wanted to make, seek out any clarifications from Dr. Marbury. I have a couple. I can go last if you guys want, or if I can kick it off however you prefer. Does anyone want to go first, or?
Let's mix it up.
Okay, all right. So, couple things. I want to just, for my own personal feedback, there are a few things I do like specifically. I know there were a couple additions made specifically around regardless of timing of the day. I know that the cell phone policy is right now bell to bell, but then the addition of the regardless of timing devices are not to be used in restrooms or into locker rooms except for in a medical event like that is something I'm glad to see the addition of. I did like the addition of the language specifically around personal devices capable of connecting to a smartphone. I know we see a lot of kids with AirPods that are not on, so I was really I didn't want to have teachers been in a position where they've got to now interpret the kid's got an AirPod on, but it's not connected, so I really appreciated that. I am looking for still some clarification on stored, specifically around, right now it says not in a pocket, but I wanted to make sure that are backpacks included in the on-persons kind of that discussion we came up with. So that's one thing I was kind of looking for. And then specifically, I did like the policy for violations because I was looking for when we brought up the fact that the school is not liable for anything if it's subject to confiscation. Like we're still on the hook for it, but I did like to see, I actually went to the Student Code of Conduct today as well to kind of make sure that that language mirrored, so, and it seemed to jive really well, so I did appreciate that language as well. There was one, this, I don't know if this is obviously not going to be covered in this policy, but I know it's been raised, so I don't know if there's a way to try to address it, but I know that specifically from conversations I've had that at the high school level, especially where there are students that pay for their own cell phones, their parents have taken the stance of like, well, he pays for his phone, so I can't confiscate it from him. I think that making sure that families understand that that child is still your child, and regardless of who's paying the cell phone bill or has the Verizon contract, you are the parent, and it's the expectation is you will, step in and confiscate it and enforce the school's policy. So those are kind of a couple of things that piqued my interest. Like I said, the only question I really had was specifically around the backpack concept versus what's considered stored on a person's.
Yeah, thank you for that. It's a great question. We are currently, backpacks are permitted. They are allowed to be stored in their book bags during the bell-to-bell instructional day. As we're working with building principals and committees are kind of formed with stakeholders, we're taking a look at if we want to give specific guidelines of other storage options. So whether we want to invest in pouches or other methods of storage, but currently, as long as it's not in their physical pocket, backpacks would be permissible for where they could store their devices.
Gotcha. The other thing I forgot to mention was that I did like the smartwatch and wearable devices inclusion in the policy. It'll be interesting to see how well enforcement goes. I know it's going to be a challenge, but I like seeing that on there. Anyone, Mr. Cummings?
Sure, I'll get the next part. I really like the working with the exceptions, specifically with the medical and the IEP aspects, to find a viable solution that still falls within the scope of the policy, but also exploring other options. Good work circumventing and also handling that. And with the medical aspect, I think a word of caution, especially with type 1 diabetes. A lot of times it's a Bluetooth monitor, and there may be maybe individual heads up that if that student is seen with that phone, that their seat might need to be changed for that day if it's confiscated for that particular period, because it can only be a certain distance away. So just kind of words of caution with that.
Sure. And we do try to include, I appreciate your feedback with that, so that we're making sure that students that have those medical needs still have access in close proximity during the day. So I appreciate your feedback on that.
And I just have to say I appreciate seeing the exceptions section, and then also I don't know, Paul, you mentioned this one, but like seeing that in the definitions, the portable electronic device, that last one about other future things. I was like, that was
Yes.
good.
Well played. Well played.
Thank you.
Tech always changes.
All right.
So I'll go next. I like the inclusion of connected for the portable electronic device connected to PEDs as well as headphones connected to. So that gives a little more leniency if we need it. There was I just had a question as far as in the office, are we going to have phones designated for students to use to call home that are available, that are accessible in the office, the front office?
Yes, there are phones available to students in the front office. We're actually working with the middle and high school principals and drafting a job description for a new position for those front offices to help to support the additional phone calls and needs that may come from parents not being able to immediately connect with their students. So they do have those phone lines available and designated in the schools.
What's the process going to be if a student just says, hey, I want to call my mom? Is it going to be, hey, they're going to press the buttons to call that phone number that's on file, or are they going to be able to call directly whenever they want? How is that going to work?
So I think that that would be part of the regulation and part of the procedures that are set up at each building. I can't say that they would be specifically consistent across the board. You know,
Yeah.
each level has a different need, age and stage for the most part, for those kids. So that's part of the regulation. That's operationalizing the policy. And when we get a final policy, then we'll start to work on the regulation and what that looks like.
So I also recommend working with the rec center so that when we take a student's cell phone and they've been transported to the rec center for after-school activities, that they have some way of getting in touch with their parents as well. So we definitely need to look at accessibility in that sense as well.
I have nothing new to add to the discussion. Thank you for all your work on this.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys.
All right, I think we're good then. Thank you, Dr. Marbury. All right. Wow, okay. Moving on to upcoming meetings. We're rolling. We have this week, the VSBA Annual Convention, November 20th to 22nd in Williamsburg. Look forward to seeing everybody down there. And then we have a regular school board meeting on Monday, December 16th at 6:59 p.m. Now moving on to student representative report.
There are no announcements or student body topics for tonight's meeting. Oh, Jesus.
All right. Thank you, ma'am. Okay, moving on to board member comments. Anyone want to start us off? All right, I'll go start us off this is my new thing. I just want to congratulate Ms. Cyberling on her recent election to governing body and just tell her that we're looking forward to it. She sadly sent in her resignation letter today to let us know she'll be moving on to greener pastures in some eyes. But anyway, Stacy, thank you so much for everything you've done for us and for the community, and we look forward to the next chapter and working with you.
Thank you. I hope I enjoy working with the governing body as much as I've enjoyed working with all of you, so thank you.
Any other board member comments? All right, seeing no other comments, can I get a motion and second for adjournment, please?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
All right. All right. Meeting's adjourned.